Hello, everybody. I'm James Diboe, your host on Discovering new things on Big Condo Radio. And we've got new guests. Well, they've been on both before, and I'm happy to have them both back. Raz Congo and Patrick Graham. How you doing?
Yeah, it's always good to be here on Congo Radio. So, give thanks again for them giving us the space to be able to talk about things of interest.
Likewise.
To us, interest to people.
Well,
Likewise, give thanks, James, once again, and also Chase for having this wonderful platform.
I know, so we're coming to the end of the season, but
Yes.
but it's been great anyway. But anyway, Raz Congo, he's been on before, obviously Patrick, and now Patrick, obviously, the aware of, author, poet, writer,
Yes,
and obviously many more. He deals with African history.
many skills.
Also, Raz Congo, he deals with mental health, whether it's on a spiritual level. Also, he's a great musician. I've heard his music. He's a world traveller. He's also lives in Africa, Rwanda, but obviously we'll touch on that in a minute.
Yes.
And it's also one thing that we've all got in common right now. What we're going to speak of is something called the Return Project, which I mentioned a long time ago with Patrick. And we're going to start it off now with Raz Congo, which is you, the man from Rwanda.
Right.
Obviously also give Nazra a shout out.
I basically,
Yeah.
bro, I absolutely. I'll be very quick and succinct here, right? Nazra, wonderful young woman. So she basically coordinated and got us all together because I spoke to Patrick about this a
Yeah.
while. We waited. There was you, also James.
Yeah.
You were interested, and we all came together in a
Yeah.
kind of like natural manner, organic manner. So the return is really about teaching young people, educating young people in order to, for self-awareness, history, culture awareness, proper behavior, manners, respect. And also, once you guys have delivered these things through your, general teachings, I don't know how many, it could be 5, it could be 6, workshops, etc.
Yeah.
They will hopefully get the opportunity, 5 young men, 5 young women from Liverpool area, to come to Africa, to understand how people live in Africa and be a part of that lifestyle as well.
Yeah, and the experience, well, he's explained, and to sum it up in one word, it will be a great experience
Yeah,
for
man.
these young people.
Definitely.
Who will, go on a journey of a lifetime, basically. Something
That's
that
it.
hopefully, as we enter parents and then eventually grandparents, these are stories that not only they can pass down and share them experiences, but encourage others to go along and have that same experience.
Absolutely.
Because we're
within, a short time after that, and for us to expand and do more. But as Ras started off with, we all got to give thanks to Nazra.
Oh, definitely.
who
Definitely, thanks.
brought the Return
Yep.
Project together, and as I said, we all then sort of gravitated towards each other. Me and Ras have talked about similar things, not just the Return Project in that name format, but we had talked about
That's
similar
right.
things and possibly getting this
Yeah.
type of thing going. So when the Return Project came up, and there was other suggestions to go to different parts of Africa, I said, well,
Oh, yeah.
we've actually got a direct connection in a part of Africa. A guy born and raised in Liverpool, great friend of mine. Let's try Rwanda, because people say, why Rwanda? And I said, well,
Yeah.
why not Rwanda?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Why not? You haven't said why not Rwanda to ask the question, why Rwanda?
Yeah.
It's Africa. It's a great place. We've got a connection there.
Yeah.
If I
There's
recall-
marvellous things to see, and it's
if
just
I
been
can
an
recall,
experience.
could me and you, when Nazra first mentioned to us, we were looking at Sierra Leone or
Yes.
Ghana, but like you've just said, you came up with the idea of you got your people there, Raz Congo over in Rwanda, which totally made sense, and especially when we did our first Zoom together. And
Absolutely.
soon as I met Raz,
Yeah, yeah.
on the Zoom, I just connected with your spirit
respect,
and your
bro.
whole mind.
Likewise.
And you also said he's a world traveler like myself, and that made it also understandable. Because I was looking at a global cultural exchange
Yes.
a long time ago,
Yes.
about maybe 4 years ago, but it's like you said, it's the finance side of it which comes
It's
into
the
it.
finance, James, and not only that, I think.
But
like,
Africa's the place.
Well, not only that, right? I think if it wasn't for the coronavirus and all the restrictions to travel and funding streams and all that, this probably would have manifested before now or
Yeah.
right now. But unfortunately, it's not so. But we're not losing the faith. We're just going to take our time, and we will get this done. It gives us more time to plan tightly and communicate,
Well, yeah, because on the build-up, once we've eventually recruited the 5, what will be very fortunate young black men and black women, once we've recruited them, we'll take them through a series of workshops, giving them an insight into just basic general history of different parts of Africa, East Africa, West Africa, some parts of South Africa, North Africa, and so on. And, you know, that might assist and help what they already know. You know what I mean? And, you know, they can bring maybe share some of their knowledge. You know, if they have no knowledge of that, then everything's a learning process.
Yes.
Because I'm a firm believer in that we all will learn at least one new thing each day.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I don't like to go a day without learning something new, regardless what that is. It's something new, and that adds to the escalation of knowledge, because you can't know everything.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can learn a lot. And, you know, knowledge is the most powerful weapon on this planet.
Well, great. It's great. It's a good pick, Africa,
with
though.
The knowledge of themselves and the culture gives them a strong base for now and especially the future.
Absolutely.
And that goes for everybody. You know
And
what I mean?
like
that goes for everybody on the
like I
Mother
mentioned last time about you will get some people, you might not go to Africa one time in your life.
Yeah.
And some people, they'd rather go maybe the Caribbean before they go
Yes.
Africa, you know, local places.
Yeah.
Because it's the negative stereotypes.
I think
And I'm fortunate to see Africa myself, a few
Yeah.
places, and definitely Raz, you've
Yeah.
travelled all over Africa.
I think you're right, but I want
You
to
know
say
what I'm
this.
saying?
I want to say this, guys. This is very interesting, you know, because you're right. You know, a lot of our people would sooner go to the Caribbean,
Yeah.
America, Europe,
Spain,
and that's
yeah.
cool because that's not an issue. But a lot, obviously, we've been fed wrong information, misinformation, disinformation. Tarzan in the jungle and all that, right? So we're like, oh, we don't. But if we do go to Africa, we might favour Morocco or Egypt or whatever, but we don't want to go down to, you know what I mean, so-called sub-Sahara Africa, right? But whenever I've gone to Africa, the plane's full of white people and Chinese people who are investing and doing things, my brother. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, Patrick? These are doing things, making business, and our absence, boy, it's such a shock to see that.
But that's all part of the deception, you see. Because while they're discouraging the black people in the diaspora not to go back to Africa or not to travel to Africa, they're all in there,
Absolutely.
as they've been for several hundred years,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exploiting the resources,
It's a lovely
exploiting the
word
land,
too.
exploiting the people, exploiting
Absolutely.
the history,
Yeah.
exploiting the culture,
And they don't
exploiting
wanna
just
share.
about everything that can be exploited. You know what I mean? And that's all part of that.
And
that
it's funny.
deception.
It's funny when you look at the word diaspora. I'm not going to go down the etymological route, but I mean, they want us to die as poorer without even knowing where we come from or who we are.
Well, one thing I did notice is, like you've just said, all the different other peoples that are in Africa, whether it's any part of Africa, you go to tourism, and everyone else seems to be doing just fine there. So why would we have problems if we go there?
Absolutely.
And when I went to the first sub-Saharan Africa, I went to, 'cause like you've just mentioned, Morocco. I went Morocco first.
Yes,
And it was a little. I just wanted to get in this African continent.
of course, brother.
So now the next trip was going to be Gambia. You know, so when I got to Gambia, and everybody just said to me there, "Welcome home,"
Yes,
and it was
proper welcoming.
It was just amazing, and even to go and see the Kunta Kinte,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Roots tour and
Yeah.
stuff, you know, and then they just treated the hospitality.
I'm telling you.
I've never been anywhere in the world
Yeah.
that gives you great hospitality like African people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The closest place was probably Fiji Islands outside of there.
Yeah, because I know people who follow Rastafari, you know what I mean, and I've been to Ethiopia and seen that as a great spiritual
Yes,
experience, you know, and then the same person has then gone to West Africa.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, for those who don't know, Ethiopia's in the east.
yeah,
He's gone to West Africa, Gambia, the place you've just mentioned,
Yeah.
but had a different type of spiritual
Yes.
awakening, because
Yes.
it was like when he came to West Africa, it was the realization that with me being from the Caribbean, with them
You're
being
more
from the
likely.
Caribbean, that I could have possibly originated
Yes.
Yeah.
from the actual Gambia
Yeah, yeah.
or somewhere around
That's
them.
right.
So it was a
Absolutely.
different type of connection than
Absolutely.
the connection he felt with Ethiopia, and it was
Yeah.
a more of a. It's hard to put it into words because I'm not the person. I'm just
Yeah, no, I get what you-
regurgitating
yeah, yeah.
some, you know, an experience what I've been told, and I thought, well, wow, yeah, I didn't really see it from that point of view.
Absolutely.
But, you know, it was like, yeah, I can understand what you're saying.
and I
'cause
think
this
it's-
is, you
it's
know, there's a
interesting as well.
reconnection.
It's interesting as well because, like, even as far afield as the places that James has been in Southeast Asia, and these people right? They know that they come from this place originally, or they certainly spent time there. But you know, us being human beings, we're not trees, so we don't have, we got feet, we haven't got roots in the ground, so we will move around. And when you look at like Africa, for example, like you have this tribe called the Fulani over east, and they look very Ethiopian-like in the. And then you have the Wolof people, you know, like Dr. Diop.
Diop.
Yeah, Dr. Diop. I'm getting all tongue twisted here. Dr. Diop, right? He done his research, and he says, well, the Wolof and the Yoruba and the Igbo have all passed through. They've all spent time in the Nile Valley. You know what I mean, brother? They really have. And even if you look at their traditions to this very day, you see remnants. But anyway, we can't even go too deep on that, because the whole medical fraternity right across the world owes their knowledge to Egypt, or Kemet, because Egypt is the Greek name. Kemet, even down to the serpent and the DNA and all that.
Yeah,
it's showing you
even
that
that medical symbol, you know what I mean, the serpents
and
with
the
the
utensils.
staff and so on. You know, there's a lot of symbolic, especially Americans, they seem to love it and take it on a lot. You know, home box office, the great...
Pyramid on the dollar bill.
You know, the great movie
Yeah.
production company in America, where, you know, Hollywood and then places where that media outlet is used to flood and poison people's minds with misrepresentations of what Africa.
I think a lot of them get stuck on this symbolism thing. It's like when they see the falcon.
Yes.
You know, like the falcon, it's all about the attributes of these animals. Like where the falcon, when it's flying into the sun, it looks like it's disappearing.
Yeah.
But it's not. Obviously, it's not. It's just out of our range, isn't it?
Of course.
So that's the reason why, like, they big up the falcon.
Yes.
You see the snake, the serpent, wisdom.
Yeah.
Even when I was in Cambodia, you'll see these similar things. I see a lot of similarity around the world.
Absolutely, brother.
And like you were saying
We're
before,
all coming from one source.
like you were saying before about the Southeast Asians, the tribes I visited,
Yes.
they're all quite small.
Yes.
You remind me when we were having a conversation about the pygmies
Yes.
or the Tuareg.
Yeah.
You know, they have different names in.
Absolutely,
in
bro.
the Congo.
Hottentot
Yeah.
and the San.
Yeah.
You know, down South Africa.
And these know that they're from Africa.
Of course, brother.
But they will get told, because when I jumped just first time with the Philippines, I just jumped straight out the Jeep. The guy didn't want to get out, and I just thought, how am I going to start this? Because I'm not on a tour.
Yeah.
I just took me, I'm the tour man.
Yes.
So first thing I said, and I'm going to show you the video, I said, "Choose no Africa," and you'll hear them all shouting,
Yes.
and then obviously
Yeah.
it's anthropologists that have been there and stuff and that. But
Well, James, like you
maybe
say,
they just know.
like you say, they know, and like you say, the oral tradition is the most important.
Yeah.
Because that goes in your DNA. So basically, the word of your mouth is the meditation of your heart, and what you have within you, right, can't be denied.
Yeah.
These people are probably in a better position than us who have been born in the West in terms of identity, and know as far afield as they are. You know what I mean? And coming back to the return, this is why it's so important, because we've all been on journeys of self-discovery, and in discovering ourselves and our surroundings and nature, we've actually made a return within our true self, who we are supposed to be.
Powerful.
And we wanna give the young people. We can't give everybody, but we want to give some young people the
You
chance.
just share that. It's about spreading the knowledge, because as I said, you know, when a family gathers around the table, they make sure everybody eats. And when you have knowledge, you have to make sure everybody shares that knowledge, because otherwise, knowledge, as the Emperor says, I don't know the direct quote, but as the Emperor says, not a man who holds knowledge to himself just renders it worthless.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And doesn't share it out, because that's what it's for. It has to be shared out.
Otherwise,
it's
it's
no good setting
wasted.
a table with 10 people around and only 6 people eat.
Knowledge is like
you know,
food, innit? What they say food for thought,
Yeah.
and they say give you a little morsel, and knowledge not tasted is knowledge wasted.
Well,
Exactly.
if I can give a great example on this, and you'll notice this yourself, my grandfather's Nigerian,
Yes.
and I know a lot of other people have not just Nigerian,
Yeah,
you know, different things.
Yes.
If you don't come and teach your children the language, you've already lost it a little bit. You
Yes.
can still give the culture and you see how somebody
yeah.
lives, but really I should be speaking Nigerian. And my dad should be speaking Nigerian.
Yeah.
But it felt like a lot of people who came over, it was just about learn English, because this is the place you're going to be to get a good job.
And the world was
You know.
different then, isn't it? The world was different. So when, say, like Windrush people and people after,
Yeah.
when you left your place of origin and you come to like the West, basically a lot of people would just stay there. Travel was a lot more expensive then. Over the years, it's kind of become a little bit cheaper, and it's been a little bit more attainable for us. But most people who made that journey, it was life savings, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And once you reached where you was, that's where you was going to stay. You know. What I mean?
And in some respects as well, you know, they had different aspirations and plans, the 1 year, the 2 year, even a 5 year plan to, you know, to earn a living, to go back and help to build up their own country. But then due to the discriminations they faced, the difficulty in gaining property, the difficulty in gaining adequate paid work, they ended up being trapped in poverty a lot of them. You know what I mean? And poor paid work, which denied them that opportunity to
the importance of African history also, you know, because we'll come to the last 10 and stuff like that, you know. So just if you continue what you were saying, Patrick, you know, we're on our last 10.
So, you know, what I was saying is, you know, people got disenfranchised financially, morally, spiritually. You know, the family unit was broken down, and the myth of black people just have children and abandon them, that was broken down. And that's a modern, very modern phenomenon, because right up to the 70s, the black family unit, and family units in general, but we're talking about black in this particular instance, but the black family unit was a solid foundation, and it's a very modern phenomenon in the last generation, basically, where due to societal oppressions, broke that down, and then again, like Eurocentric racist teaching does, it then perpetuates a myth.
Absolutely,
and
then the myth takes on its own flesh.
That's it. You know,
but you know,
people start living the myth. And
this is why.
Can you speak any African? Can you speak
very
Rwandan?
small? I speak a little bit of like Amharic, right? I can ask for basic things, but not fluid conversations.
Enough to get by.
But enough to get by. And if someone's talking, I can pick up things what they're saying. More than being able to speak as fluently. But what I will say, this is everything we're saying. This is for me, right, and all of us, because we've spoke about it before. This is the whole importance of the return in terms of, like, you know, we've lived. I mean, we're not old, but we've lived our lives. We've had colourful lives and whatnot. And for us now, we need to be able to share that with younger people. We do that in our own families and people in the communities or whatever. But we need a structured program in place, like you say, Patrick, like you say, James, where we can do one thing and take a group of young people, right, to Africa, and then if that goes well, once we sorted our funding and what that goes well, that can be replicated anywhere in Africa. Because once you've got a good program, that's a winning formula.
That's it, you know. So, you know, just to reiterate again, you know, the Return Project, we've all had different thoughts about having similar ideas and aspirations, but, you know, to give thanks to Nasra,
definitely
actually,
shout out
you
to
know,
Nasra.
Definitely.
You actually developed it and made it happen sooner than the thoughts that we were having. You know what I mean? And as I said, brought us together to approach individuals as you knew were like-minded, and we've got together as a team now to make this a realisation. So basically, although it's not about that, if there is anybody out there who feels they can help in any way financially, then please get in touch with us.
Also,
we are available through Facebook, the Return Project group, the Return Project page.
I agree.
You know, so
also,
I agree.
Working with Patrick before, you know, from even like when I brought Renault Rashidi, Patrick did help promote it as well. Because he got more people in them seats.
Absolutely.
Also, went on BBC Radio. Also, he got me my first solo one. To do me talk about the world tribes and that. So
well, Patrick's accommodating. He's very accommodating.
You know, so anytime Patrick needs me, I'm there. You know what I mean? Because I've seen him be there for me.
Well, this is the African culture at work. You know, it's just actions speak louder than words. How many times have you said someone says I'm there for you, and then when you go to them, they're not there for you. But the true liberty of the African unity is returning the hard work and the love and the assistance, and if we can do that and that can grow, then that's a better society.
Because when Renoko Rashidi come, and you know, I was more than happy to help promote that. You know what I mean? I just took it on board.
Give him a ride back.
Great man.
Give him a free ride back to the train station. When he was on the taxis.
On the taxi for him. And you know, he's a great guy to speak to. You know what I mean? Very down to earth. Very knowledgeable.
Very humble as well.
Humble, you know,
that's why I see Patrick.
And that was the second time I met him, because he'd been to Liverpool before, where he'd done a talk in the Methodist Centre.
We were there, man. We were there.
So, you know, it was great to have him back on a different but related
The only
subject.
thing was the first time, it was not promoted properly.
Yes.
And this is the same thing when I used to go to the Pan-African group. and it was not promoted properly because there's only sometimes about 5 of us were turning in.
Yeah, yeah.
There was only me and Katrina Roberts, Michelle Walker, and there was only about 2 others.
Yeah.
But I think what it was back then, because we're going back to 2014, people felt that, well, if we let too many people in, that the wrong people are going to come in. Now, that was the mentality back then.
Yeah.
Where really we're going kind of backwards, but
Yeah.
it's like we were talking about the other day when you said about the 80s, a lot was going on.
Yeah.
But then in these times now, I think we can pick back up on these things
Absolutely,
now in
because
2020.
When I was young,
Yeah.
I was that wrong person.
Yeah.
When I was young, most of us, you know what I mean? Because,
Yeah.
and the thing is, right, society will have us all off as being the wrong people because
Yeah.
of the colour of our skin.
That's
We
it.
must not practice that on each other.
No.
Right? Everybody's on different levels and different journeys, right?
Yeah.
So we can't really deny anybody. If anything, allow the people to deny themselves that
That's it.
opportunity.
Yeah, that's
you know
it.
what I mean?
You know, because as I said, opportunity is something that is there, but opportunity is also something that you create
Yeah.
as well for yourself, because you
Absolutely.
can't sit around waiting for opportunity to
Absolutely.
knock. You have to take that opportunity and go and knock on the door yourself. You know what I mean? So you've got to look at it twofold like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not, opportunity can come your way, but you have to try and make
Absolutely.
opportunity for yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone, as long as you live and breathe and walk and talk and whatever, or just about, you've got the opportunity to make things happen. And that's what we all need to strive to
Yeah,
do. As I said,
absolutely.
going back to, I have to reiterate points because knowledge is powerful.
Of course.
We've been denied.
That's
our
why we've been
heritage,
denied it.
our
You know what I
history.
mean? To make us powerless.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
You know, and people across the world, I mean, from a black perspective, we've been denied it the most. But just about everybody's denied
Yeah.
it from the ruling powers
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they
yeah.
know. Why would you educate
Yeah.
a subjugated people? And then through that education, you give them the power to overthrow you.
No, you give
when
them a
you're
little
an
bit to
oppressive
control.
ruler.
Well,
Absolutely.
You know
one
what I mean?
thing-
Of
what-
that mentality. You just
One
wouldn't
thing I
do
want to
that.
touch on now when you're
Yes.
saying how important it is to travel.
Yes.
Now, also what I relate to you, Raz, when we spoke on the phone last time, I said
Yes.
from a kid when my mum bought me a globe.
Yes.
And you said, my mum bought me
I
a
had the
globe.
same thing, yeah.
And it was that globe.
It was the fascination of seeing the blue water, seeing the continents, seeing the countries, spinning it around.
Could you start forming ideas just by looking?
As a young
You know-
kid, I said, yeah, there's obviously, we're inundated with Americanism,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we might gravitate a little bit to America because the American culture's we need to big up the African culture and get
Exactly.
that African culture out there and get the people interested, especially the younger
it's
people.
A lot of other
It's
cultures
important to have maps.
is
Maps.
African culture
Yeah.
just repackaged
Yeah.
as American culture, as this
Absolutely.
culture, as hip hop culture,
Yeah,
as this
yeah.
that culture. When a lot of it has been influenced, even a lot of some of the great European or so-called great European artists
Yes.
of the early 20th century,
Yeah.
late 19th century,
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
very heavily influenced by African art,
Yeah.
abstract art, and they come over and they called it cubism, they called it this, they called it that, they called all sorts of different names they attracted,
Yeah.
but that was the heavy influence, and they just
Absolutely.
repackaged it and made a fortune. off it.
Like we say, we've had the cream taken away,
Yeah.
and a dream has been replaced with a nightmare. So just as Patrick's saying, it's all about awareness. It's all about knowing what's happening in the world, knowing what the program is. Because when you look at racism and how racism works, it works on a multitude of levels, and sometimes we will buy into it, and we don't want no shares in white supremacy. Yeah, in the sense of looking at segregating each other. He comes from Africa, they're the Caribbean, he's from a small island, he's a yardie. No, British born and British. Forget all that. We need to start looking at our true
But this is where
identity, you know what I mean, bro?
See, this
and our
go-
shared experiences
man.
from all
This
them
goes
places.
back to the Pan-African, the
Yes.
Marcus Garvey.
Yes.
And even though he's born in Jamaica, I like
Yeah.
the philosophy when
Absolutely.
he said, are you an African or Jamaican? He said, I would never give up
Yeah.
a continent for,
For
an
an
island.
island, yeah.
And it's showing you his level of
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely.
And he was making connections with people in the Pacific,
Yeah.
the black people there.
All
You think,
over, bro.
All over.
All over.
He understood.
In a day and time where
Yeah.
it was virtually impossible to do so.
Because we're going, wait. That's
We're
why
going
they call
back.
him Marcus Messiah Garvey.
telling
He was
you, brother, I'm
man was
telling
ahead
you.
of time.
And he had all the FBI on him. In fact,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah,
all
they
old
destroyed
hat.
him eventually because he was a threat to
Well,
that superior.
They employed the first black man to work
oppressive
for the
system.
FBI. What's his name? James Wormley, right? James
yeah.
Wormley, and that was Edgar Hoover, who hated black people with a passion, but knew I
Yeah.
need to stop. This thing's getting so big. Garvey and the UNIA have 6 million followers. Right, we need to we need to start employing black people, some serious Uncle
Got more
Toms,
followers than the
and
clan.
get them on there. You know,
They didn't like that. They had more followers
You
than
know
the
what I
clan.
mean? Yeah.
And the white people were the biggest race in America. So that didn't, the numbers game didn't add up.
It's about disenfranchisement. So, and that model that we see, what happened with Garvey and many others, right, happens in Africa all the time. There's so many puppet governments.
Oh yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
so many, and anytime, like, you have some proper leaders, you know, they're going to end up like Patrice Lumumba and assassinated and put in jail and all that. Because Africa's beautiful, but Africa's also terrible as well. There's pros and cons to every society, and Africa is still controlled. It's not as though like, independence, no, colonialism and disaster capitalism is still got its grip on Africa.
Well, some
and the
people
whole
think
world.
slavery was obviously that was a terrible thing, but colonialism, that was a whole nother issue because that's totally disconnecting us from both sides. You know.
And the so-called independence that a lot of countries got, which come under the Commonwealth, which just means what these countries to me have got in common is the wealthy, and we're going to rob that. That's the Commonwealth. And when you're a member of the Commonwealth, the Queen is your head of state, so how the hell are you independent? So if the Queen's your head of state, the Attorney General still dictates certain laws and so forth.
Absolutely.
So what where
Council,
do I
all
want to
these
come to in a
different
minute
things.
about Rwanda?
Yes.
Because this is the place we're going to, Rwanda.
Well,
what are we? When we take all the youth there, what are we expecting to see in Rwanda?
Okay.
Our fathers, obviously, are we going to be seeing tribes there?
Yes,
Are we going to be,
Well, you know, like tribal wise,
Or-
you know, there's only like really two main groups. You got the Hutu and the Tutsi or Watutsi.
Okay.
And the Watutsi were more of like the prominent ones in that society. They even say that they came over mountains from Abyssinia, like say 300, 400, 500, 600 years ago, in various waves.
Okay.
Like Patrick was saying, you know, it takes time. Not everyone's going to leave. It's a remnant will be always, or a strong amount will be left behind. So it's two main groups, right? Three, because the Batwa are there. Unfortunately,
They
the
were the
Batwa,
Bantu.
the Batwa seem to be the third level, the lowest at the level, which is very sad. But interestingly, they're very much the makers of pottery. They make lots of pottery and everything, beautiful pottery, and they live off it. So you find them in their little communes, villages, and they're making pots and selling the pots, beautiful pottery. But it makes me think of like, you know, like the Egyptian mystery system, Kemet, where they say Ptah. Some people will say Ptah became Peter, but Ptah was seen at the potter's wheel, making creation at the potter's wheel, right? Ptah and Potter and Peter. I don't stop making these connections, you know what I mean?
Well, check this. Let me just elaborate on what you just said, because you know we have science,
Yes,
and we have creation.
yes.
Now, to put them both together, they don't seem to do that. It's either you believe science or you believe creation.
Yes.
Well, I can see both together
Yeah.
because, like you were just saying, it shows you in Egypt, isn't it? You know,
Yes.
being molded from clay, mud.
Yes.
And then we've got scientists saying, no, we're from the soil
Yes.
or the water.
Yes.
So you can see a connection. You just got to add spirit in there.
Absolutely.
It's a duality. Everything in life is a duality.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have up without having down.
Exactly.
You can't have good without having bad. You can't have right without having left.
Absolutely.
So,
Exactly.
you know, these two things have to work in unity in some level. You know, science and creation has to work because science helps you better understand the creation itself.
Absolutely.
No matter what level you want to look at it, from a God creation level
Yes.
or an evolutionary
But
creation
mainstream,
level, you
you
still
see-
need them both to look at
You
them
see,
both.
mainstream science, though, they want to tell you that, well, they just did on science, but there's lots of scientists who are spiritual,
Yeah.
but they don't talk
yeah.
about these ones.
Yeah.
Exactly
Well, it's all
yeah.
funded, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
all funded. So if you are working towards the agenda of a multinational company and you're hired to do a paper as a scientist, you'll get funded and
Yeah.
you'll get paid. And if it's against that agenda, you could find yourself pigeonholed. But just coming back to Rwanda, right?
Yeah.
Our young people, when we are at that stage where we find ourselves going there, our young people who are with us can expect to have good education, good psychoeducation of how the people in Rwanda are living.
Yeah.
They'll also get some historical context to that, right?
Yeah.
And they'll also have fun and adventure because we're not just bringing young people to indoctrinate them. We're giving them some information, some knowledge, but we're also going to give them a very good time. And when For example, they can expect to spend some time in some of the villages with the people, where they'll be the people will be doing banana wine or doing farming or weaving, all these type of things. Our young people can be a part of that. There'll also be like a Nile Congo walk over by the Lake Kivu.
Yeah, a good safari.
There'll be bikes, safari, adventure, national parks.
Gorilla watching.
A lot.
obviously.
It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. We can definitely promise
So,
that.
again, thank you for having us, James.
Thank you, James.
Being
Yeah.
the host, and Big Condo and Chase.
Yes.
I
thought you were saying Big Congo.
Crew. Let's pick them up.
Well, we're coming to the
you
end.
know,
Yeah, that's
It's
it.
always a pleasure to be
It's listen, as Patrick, I have to reiterate, big thank you to you both, and I'm so glad to be here. Although late, better late than never. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
well, thank you for coming on, Raz
yeah.
Congo, Patrick Graham,
Yes.
and myself, obviously, the Return Project, and
Yes.
big up to Nazareth, you know, for starting
Absolutely,
this
big
thing.
up to Nazareth.
And,
All the
you know,
time,
discovering
Nazareth.
new things, and we're going to wrap it up right now. But
Thank you.
thank you both for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you, James. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chase.